Thank you. Before we start the meeting, I'd like us to stand and have a moment of silence for former Mayor Bob Kilger. Thank you. Sego, bonsoir, good evening, and welcome to their December 13th council meeting. We have a moment of personal reflection. Thank you. Please stand for the national anthem, Councillor Gardner.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us commend. Car ton bras sait porter l'épée, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. The acting mayor for the month of December is Councillor Elaine McDonald. We acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional territory of the Mohawk people of Akwesasne. Roll call, please.
Mayor Glenn Grant.
Present.
Councillors Claude McIntosh.
Here.
Dennis Carr. Here. Sid Gardner. Dean Hollingsworth. Present. Caroline Hébert.
Présente.
Councillors Maurice Dupel.
Present, Madam Clerk.
Elaine McDonald.
Present.
Todd Bennett.
Present.
Justin Towndale.
Present.
And Eric Bergeron.
Present.
All present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions or amendments? Councillor Towndale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move consent items number 5 and 9 to communication, please.
Councillor Bergeron.
Yes, I'd like to vote on bylaw 133 separate.
Any others? Hearing none, could I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Towndale, Councillor Bergeron, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Any disclosure of interest in this evening's meeting? See none, could I have a motion to go in the committee of the whole? Councillor Bennett, Councillor DePel, all in favor? Carried. Could I have a motion to adopt? We have 3 sets of meetings, minute meetings. I'm just wondering, can we do all 3 at the same time? Moved by Councillor Gardner, second by Councillor McDonald, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Consent reports. Proclamation, Salvation Army Week, with the recommendation that council proclaim the week of December 20th to 24, 2021, as Salvation Army Week in the city of Cornwall, and to allow its flag to be flown at 340 Pitt Street. Another proclamation recommending that council proclaim the week of December 12th to 18, 2021, as Children's Christmas Fund Week in the city of Cornwall, and allow its flag to be flown at 340 Pitt Street for the duration of that period. November Pack, Donny and Sydney and First Street, recommending that 962101 Ontario at Donny Avenue for Brownsfield funding under Program 4, Municipal Planning Development Fees Grant based on actual costs for the Committee of Adjustment application for severance and a stamping of the deeds. And B1943217 Ontario Inc. at 102 Sydney Street, 41 First Street East for Heart of the City funding under Program 1, Heart of the City Rehabilitation and Redevelopment Grant for an estimated value of $51,425, subject to adjustment for yearly changes in assessment and taxation. And that council approve the following items. A, 962101 Ontario Inc. at Donny Avenue for Brownsfield funding under Program 4, Municipal Planning Development Fees Grant based on actual cost for the Committee of Adjustment application for severance and a stamping of the deeds. And B1943217 Ontario Inc. at 102 Sydney Street, 41 First Street East for Heart of the City funding under Program 1, Heart of the City Rehabilitation and Redevelopment Grant for an estimated value of $51,425, subject to adjustment for yearly changes in assessment and taxation. Item 4, Children's Services Business Practice Guidelines for 2022, with the recommendation that council approve the 2022 Children's Services Business Practice Guidelines to support the distribution of special purpose, general operating, and fee subsidy funding to operators that have a service contract with the City of Cornwall as outlined in the background discussion of this report. Tender 21 T36, Design and Installation of Utility Transformer, recommending that this tender be awarded to Spark Power from Belleville, Ontario, at the total bid price of $184,124.61. RFP Terms of Reference for Business Park Expansion, recommending that council receive this report. Elected officials' expense statements, with the recommendation that council receive the statement of expenses for elected officials for the period of October 1st to November 30th, 2021. 2021 carry forwards, capital, recommending that council approve the carry forward of the capital projects listed on Schedule 1 to this report, and 2021 carry forwards operations, recommending that council approve the carry forwards for the 2021 operations to 2022.
Motion? Councillor Bennett, Councillor McDonald, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Unfinished business reports, climate emergency declaration with the following recommendations. A, that council receive this report. B, that council adopt the climate emergency declaration. C, that the City of Cornwall, in consultation with the Environment and Climate Change Committee, adopt a national greenhouse gas reduction target, which is 40 to 45% below 2005 levels by 2030. D, that the City of Cornwall join the Partners for Climate Protection by passing the additional council resolution and committing to its 5-step framework. E, that administration proceed to develop a community climate action plan that can realistically achieve the city's greenhouse gas emission reduction targets, and which includes adaptation plans for the expected impacts of climate change, subject to funding. F, that administration further research the concept of implementing a climate lens for all city projects and council decisions, as previously described, and propose a plan and timeline for implementing a version of one for the city. And G, the administration be directed to create a report with the assistance of the Environment and Climate Change Committee outlining a process to assess climate adaptation within the community and to determine if joining International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, building adaptive and resilient communities is beneficial.
Motion? Councillor Hebert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move recommendations A through G inclusive.
Seconder? Councillor Bergeron? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And we are looking for a motion from council to receive the unfinished business listing for December 13th.
Motion? Councillor Bennett, second by Councillor Gardner. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Communication reports, transfer payments to city partners, recommending that council direct administration to continue monthly transfer payments for operating costs to the identified city partners listed in this report.
Motion? Councillor Hebert, second by Councillor Towndale. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Going back to our consent reports that were moved for discussion. Tender 21 T30, construction of affordable housing complex, recommending that this tender be awarded to Robert J. Bourgo and Associates Limited from Cornwall at the total bid price of $18,866,610.08.
Motion?
I'd like to make a different motion, Mr. Mayor.
Pardon me?
I'd like to make a different motion than the one that's proposed.
Okay, this is a recommendation from administration, so you have to have a motion to turn it down, and then you have another motion if you don't
No.
agree with it.
No, I don't. That's not how we've done things in the past, respectfully.
That what?
That's not how we've done things in the past.
Well, how do you do it otherwise?
I'd like to make a motion right now that's not the recommendation.
So you're voting against the recommendation.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to defer to the next to have a discussion at the next in-camera meeting regarding this, this tender. There are things that we can't discuss in open that I'd like to discuss in camera related to this tender.
So it's a motion to defer.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Hollingsworth, second. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to give a bit of rationale for this. This is probably the most important project that we're undertaking this term, I would argue, with all respect to the other projects we have on the go and all that encompasses. I have some concerns about this tender that relate to discussions we've had in camera regarding the proponent. I can't disclose them in public meeting as a result, but I can reference a few things. For example, there in another report in consent references the EMS roof that was replaced. That was built by the same builder. A number of years ago, we made repairs to the vent setter roof. That was public as well, and that was the same builder. I just want to, there's certain things we've discussed in camera that I can't discuss in public, but I want to have that discussion before I would feel comfortable voting on this. Because again, this project to me is the most important we're doing this term. It's the most important we've undertaken in a number of years, and we have to get it right the first time. And that, my first duty is to the residents of Cornwall and those who will be living in this building. I want to make sure it's constructed correctly and that there are no unforeseen issues. Thank you.
Anybody else? All in favor of the deferral? Opposed? Carried.
Mr. Mayor?
One moment, excuse me. Madam CEO.
So we have a motion for deferral. Can we get direction from council when we can meet in camera? Can we schedule an in-camera meeting tomorrow or Wednesday? So perhaps I could just mention the importance of the project, and we have Mrs. Morgan here tonight that can also speak to it. There are critical components within the project that need to move forward in order to meet the deadline to have the project completed by I guess the aim is to have it completed by March of 2023. If we defer this to the next in-camera meeting of council, we are going to lose a month now before it's awarded. And so from our perspective, there are some concerns with timelines. I could have, as I said, I could have Mrs. Morgan speak to those timelines, but I think it's important if council has questions, we deal with it quickly in order to properly get the tender awarded to be able to proceed with the project.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
Just a question, Your Worship. Could we go to an in-camera meeting after the open meeting?
Procedurally, we cannot because we have not published an agenda
Okay.
to indicate why we would be going into closed. So
Okay.
we would do that immediately following this meeting or tomorrow morning. And I would recommend that we try and meet with council either tomorrow at the end of the day or Wednesday at the end of the day to be able to address any items they would like to discuss in closed. Then we likely would want to turn around and come back to an open meeting to get the tender awarded.
Councillor McIntosh.
Okay, so the next council meeting is January 13th or something,
Yes, January the 10th.
10th? Okay, that may be too long to wait. At the special meeting and tomorrow or Wednesday, would we have legal advice available for that meeting or at that meeting?
So currently, administrations, other than the comments that have been made this evening, I think we can anticipate part of what questions will be coming from council, so we can be prepared. If additional information is required, then we would need to know that sooner than later. If council wants to have legal counsel available for the meeting, then we'll have to try and see if we can get that scheduled.
Yeah, that could be tricky. We'd have to, I guess, figure out when legal counsel is available and then set the meeting, if that's what we wanted around that. That could be tricky. Do we already have some, I believe we already have an opinion, legal opinion on file?
We do?
So we could, that hasn't changed?
No.
Okay, I don't think we need then to bring in BLG for that meeting. We could just go back to the file. I think it was David Sheriff Scott had met with us at one time way back when. So just go over that. Okay, so I'm available at the end of tomorrow and or Wednesday.
Any others? So the motion is, go ahead, Councillor McDonald.
McIntosh indicated when he was available. Are you going to poll all of us to see?
That's what I was just going to do.
Okay, starting with
Shouldn't
tomorrow
talk-
morning?
But you read my mind.
Okay.
We talked about the deferral, and perhaps if we could just look and, without changing the whole the motion, is that if we decide that tomorrow night we've got enough people to come to the meeting, we have quorum, so perhaps you're right, we can go around. Councillor McIntosh has indicated that he's available.
After 3 o'clock.
Councillor Carr?
Yeah.
Councillor Gardner? Councillor
Anytime,
Hollingsworth?
anytime after 3 o'clock, Your Worship.
Councillor Hebert?
That's a tricky question. I will do my absolute best.
Councillor DePel?
Is there any way that I could join by phone or by, no? Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, now that the state of emergency has ended, we are no longer able to go electronic.
Okay, I will not be able to join at 3.
But it can be after 3, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I have a commitment tomorrow evening.
Councillor McDonald?
I will be available.
Councillor Bennett?
I'm available both days, but after 5 if possible.
Councillor Townell?
I'm available.
Councillor Bergeron?
I am not.
I'm always available. All right, so the motion was passed, and we'll meet. The motion to defer was passed.
Yeah, just when we set a time, I think we should try to accommodate the people that can't make it between 3 and 5, or whatever.
We will set the meeting up for 5:30 or 6.
All right. 5:30 or 6.
5:30 to 6.
Next, Madam Clerk.
Our next report is the tax write-offs adjustments. With a recommendation that council receive this report for tax write-offs and adjustments under Section 357 of the Municipal Act 2001 and tax refunds from decisions made by the Assessment Review Board.
Councillor Towndale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just had a question. It's quite a substantial number of tax write-offs. I noticed that quite a number also come from minutes of settlement. So my question through you, are the majority of these due to miscalculations made by MPAC?
Mrs. Davis.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I wouldn't describe it as miscalculations from MPAC. What happens is any property owner can ask for their property to be reassessed and submit a request for reconsideration. And so MPAC does that. Assessments are based on, current sales and those types of things. So what's happening in your neighborhood or to a house similar to another house may not be happening to your home. And so when that goes through, a reassessment is completed, and then MPAC provides us with the information. You'll notice several of them have multiple years that we have to, that depending on when the application was submitted to MPAC for reconsideration. So some of them go back to 2017, and some are just for the current year for 2021.
Thank you.
So we need a motion. Councillor Towndale, second by Councillor Bergeron. All in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
That bylaws 2021-131 to 145 included, listed on the agenda, are being presented to council for adoption.
Did you take the one out?
Oh, yes, we're going to take out 133. So 131, 132, and then 134 to 145 as one motion.
Motion. Councillor DePaul, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you.
So now we are at bylaw 2021-133, which is to authorize the renewal of the contract agreement with Bench Press Limited.
Councillor Bergeron.
Yes, I'd like to defer that until budget. Make the motion.
Motion, is there a seconder? Councillor Towndale. Any discussion? Councillor Bergeron.
Yeah, the contract's not included. I know we've talked about this a few times. At budget, it's close to our budget time. I'd really like to get an idea of how we can maybe get creative with this contract, see if we can increase revenues for the transit department. Without seeing the contract, I can't really comment on it, but for me, if we can talk about this at budget in end of January, it would work. I think it's a good time.
Councillor Towndale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councillor Bergeron has the right idea. In addition, as you mentioned, the contract is not attached to this bylaw. I haven't seen it. This is the third time this term, the second time this year, and when that happens, I will either ask to see the contract or vote against it, because I won't vote in favor of something I've not read. So I look forward to seeing the contract prior to our budget discussions. Thank you.
All in favor of the deferral? Opposed?
Defeated?
Motion's defeated.
So can we get another motion, Mr. Mayor, to adopt the,
Need a motion now to approve that bylaw. Councillor McIntosh, second by Councillor DePel. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Notice of motion, cancellation of council meeting of Monday, October 24th, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the regular council meeting scheduled for Monday, October 24th, 2022 be and is hereby canceled as to not conflict with the municipal election day 2022. Can we get a mover and a seconder? And then the resolution will come back at the next meeting for discussion.
Moved by Councillor DePel, second by Councillor Gardner. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
And the confirming bylaw 2021?
Reports from standing by.
I skipped right over it, Mr. Mayor.
Pardon?
I skipped right over it. So we'll go back to the reports from standing, advisory, special, and ad hoc committees of council.
Are there any reports? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just, I have a question. So after our in-camera meeting tomorrow night, will that be immediately followed by an open meeting in order to expedite the process? I thought I heard that, but I wasn't sure.
So we'd have to have an open meeting to award the tender, so we could schedule both meetings on the same evening, or we could schedule one tomorrow evening and then have the award, at the following day at another meeting. It's up to council.
We can have one right after the other as far as I'm
If
concerned.
it can be done, I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. Confirming bylaw. Can I have a motion to approve the confirming bylaw? Councillor McDonald, Councillor Ebert. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Ebert, Councillor DePel. All in favor? Thank you. Good meeting.